Hello sweet queens, so today we're going to be learning how to make this beautiful dress, so let's get into it. So here are the required measurements.
We're going to be using 2 yards of satin and 3 yards of this lace. Can we call this lace? I don't know. So 3 yards of this thing.
So I'm going to draft the front part of the upper bodice first, and I'm starting with the inner part of it, okay?
Our armhole, we're using 9. Our nipple point, 12.5. Our underbust is 17. Our waist length is 18 with half-inch allowance. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and extend the lines. So I'm going to put a shoulder measurement. Our shoulder is 16.5 by 2, that's 8.25. I'll put it there and I'll rule it to the chest line. I'm going to just draft a princess dart bustier. So I'm going to slant the shoulder. Then I'll finish the armhole. It's a front pattern, so I'm just going to get the mid armhole. Come in by half. Can you see? Now it's just for me to put our bust measurement. Our bust is
41.5 divided by 4, that will be 10.4.
10.4. Put it. Then I'll put seam allowance. Then I'll come to our waistline. I'll put the waist circumference divided by 4. Our waist circumference is 32.5. That will be 8.1. Then my seam allowance. If you notice, I have not put my dart, and I'm just going to do it this way. I'll put the dart. This is a nipple point line. I'm going to put a nipple to nipple distance divided by 2. A nipple to nipple distance is 8 inches by 2. That will be 4. Then plus half-inch seam. That's 4.5. Really straight down. Then I'll connect it to the mid armhole. Then I'm going to put the dart. I'm going to take half-inch dart. This is our underbust line. At this underbust, I'll take half-inch dart here, and here I'll take 2.25. Then I'll roll it straight down and then connect them to the nipple points. Straight down. Connect it to the nipple points. Then from the mid armhole, I'm going to come down by 2. Then from here, I'll connect it to that 2 inches point, okay? You step out by 2 inches again and connect together this way, and then you can now reshape the front armhole. You don't need this normal one again, so you get the new one. So it's going to be like this. So this is it. So the next thing is just to replace the darts that pass through. So you replace your darts. The dart that pass through here is 0.8. Let's just say 1. So I'll put it. Then here also you replace your dart. So this is it. Okay. Next is to determine the shape you want for the yoke. So I'll just trace out the shape I want for the yoke. You can decide to have your yoke and insert it, but that's not the method I want to be using for this. So you just see what I'm going to do at the end of the day. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, I'll cut it out. We don't need this because we are not replacing this yoke. Do you understand? So don't forget to also slant the side seam by 1 inch. So you need to cut out this one now exactly like this for your lining. So I'm going to be cutting the lace part, so I'll fold my fabric into 4 so that I can cut both the front and the back of my dress together. So my fabric is folded into 4. I have my zip allowance here, and this is my center front, and it's on fold. So I'll just draft the normal basic bodice. So this is my starting point line. I will measure my armhole length, then my waist length. My client's waist length is 18 inches, and then ½ inch seam allowance. Then I will extend the lines. Okay, so this is how it is. So the next thing is to put your shoulder measurement. Our shoulder is 16.5, so you put the 16.5 divided by 2. Roll it straight down to the chest line this way. I'll measure 3 inches. I'm starting my measurement from this folded edge, please take notes. So I'll come down by 1. So I'll connect it together like this. So the next thing I'll do now is just to put my measurement, her bust circumference divided by 4. That is on this line I'll put her bust divided by 4. Her bust is 41.5 divided by 4. I'm going to put the answer here. Then I'll add my seam allowance.
So on the waistline, I'm going to put the waist circumference divided by 4 plus 1 inch for the dart, and then my seam allowance.
And I'll connect it together. So I'll determine how I want the neckline to be. So for the neck width, I'm going to be doing 4 inches. Then the neck depth, I'm going to do 3.5 or 4. So I'm doing 4 by 4 for the neck. Then I'll cut it out. So for this zip allowance on the waistline, you go in by half this way, and then you connect it back to the top. All right, that's for the back. Okay, so we're going to be doing some modifications on this thing right now. All right, and first you need to locate the nipple point line. The nipple point is 12.5. You mark it. If you remember, when we were cutting the bustier, we slant the side seam by 1. So that one here, we're not going to be cutting it out, but rather let me remove the back so that I don't confuse you. Let's keep the back aside first and do this few modification on the front. So this is the front. So you remember we sliced the side seam for the bustier. But here you're not going to be doing that. Rather, on this your nipple point line, just extend it to the side seam this way. Then you are going to be taking bust dart here, okay? So 1 inch for your bust dart. So you notch here and notch here, so that when you are sewing, you will know that you are putting in bust dart. Hope it's clear. I'm not going to be putting the waist dart. I won't be putting the waist dart, but then it will have bust dart, 1 inch bust dart. Okay, so we're done with the front. So you bring the back on the waistline, at the hemline here on the waistline, just come up by 1 inch and then trim it off. Okay, for the back, 1 inch.
So I'm using the back lace to cut the satin that is going to serve as the lining for the back. You can see I'm just tracing out the shape of the waistline, then the zipper side, and also the side seam. Then afterwards, I'm going to determine how I want the shape of the lining to be at the back. I already have a tutorial on how you can do this type of back on the channel. The link will be in the description box so that you can check it out. Okay,
Understand? Do you understand what I'm doing? So that's the back. Put the shape on one side.
then you will also cut lining for the satin for the back, like so.
This one we have that. Nipple to nipple by 2. So that's it. So this is the back, and here is the front. And don't forget, for the front we are going to be having bust dart of 1 inch. Okay, you have bust dart of 1 inch. So for this one, you just take to your machine, you go ahead and join all your panels together for both the main and the lining. Now I'm using the same thing as the lining, so it's still the same thing like this. So you go ahead, you join it and finish it both up and down. So this is the allowance that I'll use in joining the upper part together with it. So from here, you put the waistline, then you measure the hip line, then the length of the inner one. Okay, for that we want 38, but we are going to be folding the hemline, so I'll make it to be 40, so I added extra 2. Okay, so here I'll put the waist circumference divided by 4. You're going to have 1 inch dart, and then you put your seam allowance. Here I'll put the hip divided by 4. Our hip is 47 by 4. You put it, then you put your allowance. The next is for you just to pencil it. So here I have 13.5. I minus 1.5. That will be 12. So I'll put 12 here. Then I'll connect them together. Don't forget to also contour your zip allowance. If you like, you can also line this, but we are not going to be lining our own. So we're going to be using this to cut out the lace fabric. You determine the length you want for the outer one. In my client's case, so just put the waist length on this line again, then you measure down the length you want. All right, my client wants 51, so this is 51, but because we're going to be hemming the bottom part, I'm going to be adding extra 2. Okay, then here you need to pencil it more, so whatever you have on the hip line, you subtract 2.5 and put it there so that it can be very taper. Okay, so I'm putting 11 here. I want it really pencil, so I'll connect it back this way. Can you see? Cut it out. So this is it. Hope it's clear. You can see we extend the bottom part. Don't forget to put your notching in the appropriate places. So this is it. So by the time you open it, it's just going to be like this. So the pleating should not be too big. Flip? No, it's pleating. I'm going to reduce to one will be shorter. So I'm going to be pleating this to the bottom part of the pencil sleeve. So it's 2 steps. Can you guys see it?